You can just share a message in the chat. Let's see, Alberta, you have a question. You can place it in the chat if you like. But just let me know you can hear me. If you can, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm getting familiar with this. All right, Ty, you have a question? Ty, I unmuted you. You have a question? No question? All right, question marks are popping up, so I'm trying to make sure that you all can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and get started so that we don't run out of time. And hopefully everyone can hear me. If you cannot, there's a chat and you can post your chat there or your message there. But welcome. I'm glad to see everyone is here. This is a first webinar that is part of our Start.Pivot.Grow mastermind series. We have 5 of them where I dive deeper into particular core topics that are relevant to helping you develop the skills to grow. And so this is the very first one. We're talking about developing your brand in this particular one tonight. And this will last an hour long. This is a new system. It's not our regular Zoom. I wanted to offer something different. So as you become familiar, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Just find the chat button or the chat arrow. Okay. And hopefully you are able to hear me. Okay. I just have question marks everywhere, so I'm trying to figure out what the question is. Ah, there we go. I see the chat now in the questions. Forgive me. Hello, welcome. I see it now. It wasn't popping up until I pushed a different button. Okay, very good. I'm getting started. Let's go, everybody. Welcome. Developing a brand for your consumer product business. I want you guys to, you know how this works. If you've been in the workshops, get your pencil, get your paper ready. Make sure that you are paying attention because I'm going to give it all to you. All right. So I have everyone recorded as to is here. Remember, those of you who started in the Start, Pivot, Grow Accelerator in the workshops, you will complete all of your webinars. There are 5 of them on Monday evening, same channel, same bat channel. And you want to make sure that you are getting yourself prepared if you're going to submit your application for the pitch competition. That is, those of you who started in the workshops last week, started from the beginning in the program, I will open the applications 1st of November, and you will submit, and those who are accepted will get a notification and to prepare to pitch for the $10,000 small grant sponsored by Wells Fargo, Integrality, and Dallas College. All right, just wanted to make that announcement. Thank you so much for being here, and let's get started. I'm talking about building brands, talking about ensuring that you all understand what is a brand, what's the difference between a brand and simply a logo, and how do you create a reputation and perception of what your company is and what you do. So let's start with Tide. Many of you, whenever you saw this logo, you immediately knew what this product was. This product has been around for many years. They have not made significant changes until recently when they upgraded their logo and made a change, added a different color yellow to their graphic. And often what we find is that when you see this name, we know that that is detergent. If you grew up in the South like I did, and I always saw my grandmother and my mother purchase Tide, and it just became a tradition in our family. No reason other than my grandmother did it, because that brand meant something to her. It meant that her clothes, her children's clothes, her family's clothes were going to get clean. Branding is so much more than just a logo and a picture. It, all of the elements matter, from the colors that you select to the shape to the type font. Type font is the TIDE that you see in front of you. Everything matters, to the quality of the product or service that you provide to your customers. Mentally, what does your brand say to your customers? And so whenever you see a brand that you recognize, there's something that happens psychologically in the consumer's mind or the business mind that tells them this means something. What that means to them is dictated by you. And often what happens, I'll tell you what happens with small businesses. Small business owners sometimes will start out on a small budget. They will not seek the advice of branding agents or people who are in the space of marketing and brand development to help them decipher what their logo and brand representation should be based on the audience that they are serving. And so what happens is you sometimes will select stock images, or you'll create your own logo yourself based on what appeals to you, not the customer. And so that can have an impact potentially on your ability to connect and engage with the customer. And so you really want to put a lot of thought and effort and studying and advice seeking when it comes to understanding these things: design, color, box shape, aroma, if it's a product or a product with scent or sensory elements, and performance. Performance meaning what's the quality of the product or service? For instance, let me give you an example. And you guys could put this in the chat here to chat with me. When you think about ice cream in an ice cream company, what are the top 3 colors that come to mind when it comes to ice cream? Feel free to put that in the chat really quickly. What are the top 3 colors that come to mind to you when it comes to ice cream? Tammy says white, brown, pink, white, chocolate, strawberry, says Ruth, red for strawberry. All right, so pink, white, red, brown, white. Did I say white already? Yes, and red. Absolutely. Now, what if you were an ice cream company, whether it was popsicles, lollysickles, ice cream cones, or your frozen ice cream treats? What if you selected blue, black, and green as your main brand colors for your ice cream company? Do you feel that that would be appealing, blue, black, and green, to children or the parents of children if you were selling ice cream to children? Feel free to chime in the chat. I'll read them off. While you think about it, the answer is probably not. The reason being is that colors have a meaning. Every color, for the most part, has an psychological effect on the viewer who sees the color. Just like you often will see burger places use very primary colors, most often red. Red equates to blood, blood equates to meat, meat equates to beef. There's a purpose and a reason for what colors you choose when it comes to creating brands, meaning brand representation, logo to be specifically. Let me be specific. Okay. Bose, you can't see the chat. There's a button on there that says, should say chat, depending on if you're on your mobile phone or if you're on an iPad or a laptop. It's there. It should say chat. Alrighty. So I want you to understand that, albeit that your brand and your product design and your logo design all make up the complete picture of who you are and how those things together represent what company you are, what products and services you sell, and to whom. So whenever you're thinking about what your brand represents, make sure you're paying attention to what the colors really mean. Do they reflect your industry? Do they reflect the personas that you all learned about last week in the workshops? And will they connect and resonate with the audience that you're trying to get to buy from you? Okay. And again, you have to think about the end user and the customer. Alrighty. So brands, top 2 favorite brands that you can think of that have a price point of $25 or less. Real quick, think of any brand that you have that you like to buy in your home, work, car, food, doesn't matter. What are your top brands? And just put those in the chat for me. I want to make sure that I can hear you all too. Honest. Okay, Tammy says Honest. My daughter likes Honest. Okay, any others? Coca-Cola. Okay, Dennis likes Coke. All right. I want you guys to think about the reasons why you like those things. I'm going to ask something related to that in a moment. Any other brands, you can put them in the chat here. Bluebell. Dennis says Bluebell. That's a staple here in the South, even despite the scandal that they had about 4 years ago. All right. So as you are chatting, because I see your message, wherever you're typing, I see you. All right, very good. So when it comes to those brands, you recognize, you remember them. If you were to see the logo or the graphic that represents those companies, you immediately know what they are and what they represent. That is branding, okay? And so when you are creating your own brand for your company, you want the exact same effect to happen or occur on the audience you're trying to connect and engage with. What that means is if you are not memorable, it is difficult to get people to relate and remember who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you. Again, 3 things. If you are not creating a brand that makes sense to what you sell and to whom you're targeting, it's difficult for them to remember who you are, what you sell, and why they should buy. Those things should be a part of the total picture of what your brand represents. Okay? I'll say it again. Your brand represents to your buyer who you are, what you sell, why they should buy from you. And remember in our exercise last week, for those of you who are in the workshop, you can't say quality service. You can't say great customer service. You can't say I'm nice or I'm pretty. I'm being sarcastic. What I'm saying is there has to be something substantive to what your brand or your company brings to the table when it comes to value to the end user. And it should be encompassed in the brand that you put out or the message that you put out about your company. That goes from logo to slogan to campaign messaging that you create to market your company. And if you're all over the place, your target audience is not going to remember you. If you're confused, they're confused. That means no sales. Just keep that in mind, okay? Brand is a lot more than just the colors and the pictures in your logo. All right, very good. So another exercise, think of your favorite brand that costs $500 or less. Now we're moving up from $25 or less to $500. What is something that you buy that may cost $500 that you like? Anything, doesn't matter what it is. Just type it in the chat. And I'll figure out how to unmute you guys. Mary, you typed in it so I can see what you typed. That's the chat. Okay, I'm trying to unmute you guys, but that's not working. Timex. Thank you, Dennis. Crystal, I can't see what you wrote. That's getting out of your price range. Hush, Crystal. All right, Timex. Dennis said Timex. If you have a moment, Dennis, tell us why Timex. Why do you choose Timex over any other type of watch? Apple. Okay, great. Thanks, Ruth. This is in the questions. Oh, okay. Questions instead of chat. Then that's my bad because I can't tell if it's chat or questions. Thank you for that, Crystal. All righty. Tom Ford. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I bought some Tom Ford, was it Tom Ford perfume? It's one of my favorites. Like, I went all out for myself in that thing. I would have never done that. Awesome. Because of the value and reliability for Timex. Thank you, Dennis. Exactly. Okay, those two key words are important when it comes to, Sammy, you're in the right place. We're in questions versus chat. You're in the right place. So, Dennis, value and reliability. Somehow in the marketing that Timex created over years and over time, they have led you to believe that their product provides value, meaning probably it'll last a long time, and reliability, that your watch is always going to work. That's an important element to branding. The same with Apple. Ruth, I'm an Apple everything. My phone, my watch, my laptop, my desktop, my notebook, Apple everything. I don't use anything else because of my dedication and loyalty and commitment to Apple. And that's been 22 years in the making. I won't use anything else. Dennis says, takes a lick and keeps on ticking. Exactly. That's a slogan, Dennis. And that's important because that's ingrained in our minds, right? You want to create the same for your business. We don't do that often. We really don't think about the elements of our brand and how important each are to speaking to the unique value proposition that we bring to the table in solving problems that our consumers or businesses may have. That's an excellent example. I love Apple because it's reliable. I have rarely had problems with my Apple products with hacks or viruses. All of my products communicate across all devices. Everything's the same. And I love the sleek feel of it. I love that I don't have to think when it comes, it's intuitive and it works. Like I can create. Those things matter to me. That's about 6 different value propositions that Apple brings to the table, which supports the reason why I'm loyal to them. You would want to ask yourself, what are the points or value elements that I bring to the table to my customers when it comes to the products and services that I sell? So I really want you to think about that. I'm going to be quiet for just 30 minutes or, excuse me, 30 seconds to a minute. And I want you to think about 1 to 5 value words that come to mind when it comes to your product or service. Just write them down, okay? And you can't say good service, you can't say quality customer service, and you can't say low price, okay? I'm laughing because everybody from the last week know that was difficult. Ruth, fresh ingredients. That one is subjective. And what I mean by that, thank you for sharing, is just an example. Fresh ingredients. Fresh, does it matter to the customer? If it does, dig deeper. Why? Why do I care if it's fresh? Why is that important? What are the things as a consumer that I may be thinking about whether or not it's fresh? Fresh in comparison to what? Like really dig into what that means, because fresh is a word that Kroger uses, Tom Thumb uses, the salad bar uses. There's so many people who use the word fresh that it's become kind of irrelevant to the everyday consumer as to what it really means. So that's why I say dig deeper into the psychological meaning that would relate to your primary consumers. And if there's more to it, that's where you want to focus. Hopefully that helps a bit. Healthcare, okay, transformation. Okay, Tammy, thank you so much. Transformation, unless I'm looking to be transformed, that makes me have to think what that means. Dig deeper into what that means. Transforming from what? Dig deeper into the meaning, but also other words that may be what the consumer is looking for in services. Healthcare empowerment. What does empowerment mean to the consumer? Because of its different meanings to everyone. How am I empowered? In what way? Dig deeper into that word. Go there to find the connectivity for, okay, non-GMO. Thank you, Ruth, for that. So Ruth, non-GMO for the educated consumer who knows what a GMO is, that matters. For the non-educated consumer who doesn't know what a GMO is, doesn't care. And the reason why I know that is because I've been in the vegan industry for so long. And often what I've found is that everyday consumers would think GMO meant vegan. No idea that they were non-related. So for the educated consumers that may be your primary audience, that would make sense. For the non-educated who wouldn't know what a GMO is or would be, what else? Okay, think about that. All right. you have a question. Built tough, Dennis, built tough. So what you see in those commercials with built tough, now I think that is for Ford. Tell me if I'm right or wrong on that, Dennis. I think that's Ford, built tough. And how do they reinforce that their product is built tough? They have a big, beautiful truck with the good wheels on them, bouncing around on a mountain as if we're going to be bouncing around on a mountain, teeter-tottering in that truck, and nothing breaks, nothing falls apart, right? So in order for us to visually understand that that truck won't fall apart no matter what you do to it, they tell you it's built tough, then they show you that it's built tough, where it won't fall apart no matter what you do to it, which then tells you, I will dog this truck out. I need a truck that won't fall apart no matter what I have to do. And that entices you to buy it. You see where I'm going with the brand? That didn't involve the logo at all. That involved me telling you what the value proposition is and then me showing you that it works visually. Does that make sense to everyone? Ford, yep, I was right. You see how that works? Over the years, seeing those trucks bounce on the hills and the mountains, built tough, it's ingrained. Is your brand, the name of your company, your slogan, your logo, are they ingrained in the psyche of your consumer or the business that buys from you? If they're not, how can you? How can you get into the mind of the buyer? Because if you do, when it's time for them to purchase, they'll remember you. They'll remember you. And that's what you want from branding. Okay, Crystal, community, relatable and background. No idea what that means, Tamara. Tell me what you mean with that. Meals made from scratch with non-genetically modified products. So I see where you're going with that, Ruth. No problem. Once again, the only way this would matter is if your primary persona, primary market, cares that the meal was made from scratch, which gives them assurance that it wasn't mass produced in a warehouse someplace that they'll never know or never see, that somebody put their tender love and care into making it, and that they used products that were not genetically modified, which may be a little bit safer for them. So that's the mindset of the persona, right? So that's a certain type of audience who would care. You are competing with, just so that you guys see where what I'm talking about, Ruth, you're competing with the audience who is more concerned with convenience and price than they are scratch and healthier. And so, who would be your audience? Would it be convenience and price? Or would it be, I took tender love and care in producing or making what you are eating from ingredients that I found myself to be trustworthy? This one, right? And so you wouldn't try to connect and engage with this one because they don't care. You're trying to find as many of these as possible, whereas that message would connect and resonate. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? That's where we're trying to go. All right, should I see what everyone else is saying? It's in questions, my dear Sammy. Since this I can't see on your side, I feel like you should, but it's in questions. I'm hoping you can. Smoking good. Hi, Mr. Davis. Okay, so smoking good. Smoking good. So I know that your product is barbecue. So if I saw your slogan as smoking good, the two words together would tell me, number one, that the product is smoked. And typically, people who know barbecue Know that smoked meat may have a different flavor, consistency, texture, taste, and then good. Good is subjective. Everybody thinks they can barbecue. So they will test it and see. Just always know that when you use adjectives like that, it's subjective and it's left up to the consumer to either agree or disagree after a purchase. Okay? So that leaves a lot of room for wiggle there. What you want to do is get deeper into what the consumer really wants from smoked meat or barbecue. Okay? Okay, it only shows what you all type. Okay, I got you. I'll figure it out for the next one. Can't see the other comments. Okay, I'll figure it out for the next one. There is a chat. You guys probably just can't see it, but we'll figure it out for the next one, and I'll provide instructions so that we can make sure you guys can talk to me as well as see each other's messages, okay? All righty, so moving forward to the next brand. Now, if I had have placed just this can without a logo or any words whatsoever, for the most part, all of you would more than likely know exactly what that product was. That's how powerful branding can be. Okay, just by the color, there's a certain type of color that they use, the logo, the shape, the words sugar, the flavor, not the words, I'm sorry, the flavor of Dr. Pepper. And also, if you grew up in the South, nostalgia. And so this is important when you are developing the products that, like tangible products, making this up right here, okay? Tangible products that your customers would touch and feel. Every element, every single element represents your brand. Every element. And Alberta, you and I talked about this in our 101, where I was talking about the color scheme that you use for certain types of products, the type font that you use for products, the graphics that you use for products on your labels, even to the point of what type of paper you use for labeling, to the boxes that you use to place your product in. Every element matters to the buyer as well as your brand. If it doesn't match, you won't be remembered. Meaning, if it doesn't connect with what brand you're trying to present to the customer, they won't remember you. Every experience that the customer has with you should represent your brand. That takes a lot of thought to put into every element to make sure, does this represent me and connect with my audience? Okay, keep that in mind, every element. Okay, can you give me some examples? Because I guess I assume the customer cares about freshness, quality, etc. Well, sure, I'll do my best, Ty. So one, we don't want to guess. Always, always, always. Anytime you have an opportunity to connect and engage, talk, one-on-one, phone call, they pick up, you see them online, chat, whatever the email, always ask, what are the elements that you like about my cupcakes? People got tired of me in the restaurant. Tell me everything you liked. Tell me everything you didn't like. Like, you are the critic today. Give it to me. Because I wanted to understand from their perspective what they liked, what they didn't like, using their words. And that's important in your business to not guess. We have to remove ourselves from the equation and not make any assumptions about what the customer likes, wants, how they want it, when they want it, what does it feel like, what size, all the things. We should ask the customer. You can't provide everything that every single customer wants, but when you start to collect trends, hear repeated information, that means that's what the customer base wants. And then so you would work to enhance. Now, the things that are important in the cupcake and bakery world are there are some things that are really basic, okay, when it comes to baked goods. Sugar is the addictive factor that people love. Now, will they ever tell you it's the sugar I love? No. They're going to tell you that it is the flavor, it is the softness of the crumb, it is the people can tell the difference as to whether or not it's real butter or margarine. They can tell if it's whipped with cheap products versus you made the whip yourself with real products. All of those things, especially with cupcake connoisseurs like myself, they can tell when it's made from scratch or when it's boxed or when it's cheap ingredients or it's real. So it's down to the smallest element, the softness and fluffiness of the crumb, the size and flavor and consistency of the frosting, the consistency of how your cupcakes always look, meaning visually the appeal, what box, if it's a pink box or is it a loud green box, like all the things. And those are the things that elements that you want to inquire about and never guess. You have to ask the customer. Okay, yeah, Mary Porter said true. Okay, and Ty says, okay, she gets it now. They always mention moist and flavor. Yep, told you I'm a cupcake connoisseur. I know my cupcakes. All right. Now, moving forward, keep putting your questions in here or comments, okay, until we figure this out next time. How did they reach you? Now, here's the question that you want to ensure you're able to answer about your customers. After you figured out your brand, how you represent yourself, color, logo, type font, slogan, messaging, campaigns, ads, whatever you're using, how are you going to connect with them? Where are they? Most of the time, you are not getting sales because you're not talking to your audience in a consistent way. That's the truth. Because if you were talking to your people at the right time, at the right place, when they had a need, they would buy, especially if you bring value based on solutions. Okay? And we talked about problem to solution, right? And so if you know what the problem is and you have a solution that could solve that problem, priced at the right price that brings value to that customer, you should be talking about the value you bring and how your solution is the right one through branding and marketing at the right place at the right time. But if you are what we call throwing a big, large net out into the universe, hoping that you catch two, wrong effort, wrong idea. You do not want to do that. You want to throw a targeted net to 100 and get 50. And if you don't know how to do that, that's when you work with a marketing expert who can help you figure out where they are, what you should use to reach them, and then create that and then go find your people. Don't try to talk to everyone. We talked about that last week. If you try to sell to everyone, you're selling to no one. Talk to your people, meaning your primary audience based on the persona that you've identified that has a problem or opportunity that you can solve with your product and service. As simple as that. And there are lots of them. Lots of them. You just have to know where to find them and then create content, materials, website, and so forth to reach them and tell them what you have. How can they purchase from you? This is another area that is critical also to your brand. The simplest way to explain this is if people, meaning consumers or businesses, decision makers in businesses, do not know how to purchase from you or you make it too difficult, they're not going to do it. And especially in today's 21st century, they want it easy, they want it fast, they don't want to think. And you have to walk through the process that you have today as to how a potential lead or potential customer can buy what you have to offer. And if it's too confusing, it's too hard, you're most likely are going to lose sales versus gain them. So think about what is the purchasing process to buy from you. And if it's too difficult and you haven't worked that out for your company, fix that. Work on your branding, figure out how do you generate leads, meaning how do you connect with your people, and then what's the process to do business with you. You're trying to get to the money, plain and simple. But if it's too difficult, you're going to lose attention. And once you lose attention, it's very difficult to get that back. You can, but it may cost you. So once you have captured an audience, do everything you can to get them to convert quickly. Convert means buy. Okay? That also speaks to your brand too, because I'm sure you've had an experience. I'm sure I froze. Hopefully I'm alive still. Let me know if you guys can hear me and I'm unfroze. But what was I about to say? You may have had an experience with a product or a company, whereas you really, really like them, but their process you didn't like and it didn't work. And you decided you weren't going to return, although you liked their service or their product. It was just not worth it to you. That's what you don't want with your customers or potential customers, your leads. Okay, so think about the process to how do they do business with you. That's part of the brand experience. Okay. Alrighty, so make sure as you are beginning to evaluate what brand do you have, what is your brand, shall I say? And brand is not just a logo. I want you to be able to define and describe what you're selling and make it so simple that a 5-year-old would understand one sentence to describe what you sell. Okay? Okay, you can hear. Thank you. So I want you to write that down. You all will receive a copy of this presentation. Don't worry about it. It'll be sent in an email to you. But I want you to describe and define what it is that you sell in one sentence. You don't have to give it to me. I just want you to really practice, especially after hearing what I've shared with you today. Redefine what it is that you sell in one sentence and make sure a 5-year-old would be able to understand it. Build from there. Okay. All right, next. Now, sometimes you think that it's what you sell is simple and that it should be easy for people to understand what you do. That may very well be the case. But sometimes what happens is if there's a lot of noise in your industry, noise means competition. Competition for brain space, competition for wallet space, competition. You have to remember, and you really want to study the psychology of the consumer, but you have to remember a consumer sees so much information all day that their brain has to decipher what's important and what's not. You're fighting against all the noise when it comes to gaining attention and traction for your business. So albeit what you sell may seem simple to understand, you may not be connecting and resonating with your audience very well at all. And that is a problem when it comes to sales. I see one person on here, Frankisha, I see you on here. I know exactly what you sell. I know what you do. However, there is a driving factor that prevents 1,000 people from standing outside of your retail location to get what they need because of noise. There has to be some unique value proposition that you have to connect with your audience to get them to choose you first before they go to Amazon, before they go to another store down the street. And that is very difficult to do, but it is possible. We've seen it happen over and over again. Nike, let me say Air Jordans, right? Because think about it. Air Jordans are rubber soles with cloth tops, sometimes leather, with shoestrings. They're shoes. What makes Air Jordans so much more special than Keds or New Balance, right? You may be laughing, but it's very true, right? It's all about the branding. It's all about the branding and connectivity with the mindset of your primary audience. Okay? That's important in every business. No different than Slutty Vegan. There are tons of vegan restaurants. Why does Slutty Vegan have a line wrapped around its building almost every day? Almost every day in every market. Why? Make it make sense. Branding, marketing, messaging, curiosity, gotta be there. Okay? There's a way to do it. You have to figure out how to connect. And the reason being is because if there are 22 million people in Dallas County alone, doggone it, you should be able to get 500 of them daily. 22 million people in Dallas and Tarrant County, you should be able to get 500. There's a secret to it, and it's branding, and it's marketing, and it's connectivity to your primary audience's needs. Okay? Chick-fil-A, yeah, Boaz, that's a good one. Like, make it make sense. Like, why are people in line for a chicken sandwich or a chicken biscuit when you can get the same in other places? It is marketing. They have made us believe that their product is better. Why? That's their job, is to create this demand from touching into what's important to their personas. And then you believe it. Then you believe it, right? We somehow think Chick-fil-A is better than. How'd they get here? Because based on my research, you guys can look it up for yourself. When Chick-fil-A started, they couldn't give chicken sandwiches away. They couldn't. They could not sell a sandwich. But now, check out their revenue. Killing it. Okay? So, what that means is if Chick-fil-A can turn it around, so can you. You have to know the secrets to branding and marketing and connectivity and relatability for your primary audience. It's not everyone. It is your primary personas. What do they need from you, and do you have it the way that they want it? Okay. All right. Bowen said it is. All right. So moving forward, I have spoken for far too long. No, no, I haven't. I still have 7 minutes. Okay. I still have 7 minutes. I thought I had went over. I'm good. All righty. And as far as your customers, here's something else that I want you to ask for yourself. Let me make sure I didn't pick. Um, you want to understand, and your customers need to also understand who you are, not you, the owner, the business. What's your story? One of the things that we do not do well is tell our story, not the story of I grew up in a dirt town and I had 16 brothers and sisters. Not that story. The story about your brand. How did you come up with the idea? Why did you come up with the idea? What's the importance of the idea? Not from an egotistical perspective, but from a value perspective. I cannot tell you how many times my personal posts about my life, my history, with my reason for starting my food company resonates more than a beautiful picture of a taco salad. I don't, I still haven't figured it out. I kind of know people love to be in people's business. They love to know the inside scoop. They love to see if they can relate to you. Is your story like mine? If it is, I want to buy from you. That's really what it is. Yes, I do know why. And so if you're able to tell a brand story in a really innovative way that connects with your audience, they will buy. But if you're disingenuous and you can't tell a story and you're disjointed in your marketing, they won't buy. They won't connect with you. And I'm not saying that you have to say I got a divorce in 2000 and in 2001 and lost my house. They don't want to know that stuff, depending on the brand. Don't get me wrong, depending on the brand. But it's about your why did you create the service or products or the company that you created? How does it bring value and why is it so important to your audience? There's a book that you want to read that teaches you how to tell a brand story. I read this in almost a week and it blew my mind of how much I was getting wrong in my marketing. Even after 21 years in business, I never stopped learning. But this book right here that I want to share with you, you can just get it from the library if you want, or Amazon, of course. But if the library has it for free, pick it up, or Audible. It's called Building a Story Brand. Building a Story Brand. That's one. The second one by the same author, Donald Miller, is Marketing Made Simple. These two books can change your business if you listen. Mark my words, telling you the truth. I don't make what I make without listening from learning. Okay? Building a story brand teaches you how to put the customer first in all of your branding in order to connect with them on a real level and drive them through your leads and sales funnel, whatever that may be. Learn how to tell the story. Learn how to connect and engage with your audience better. And then you can sell like Nike. Okay? Here we go. So here are the tips, okay? You can write these down, but don't worry. I'm going to send this presentation to you. Focus on the customer. Research the buyer, meaning the person who's buying from you. Build a rapport with them, however you do that, in person, digitally, whatever your connectivity is, your channel for connecting, build a real rapport with your customers. Figure out how to do that, okay? Know the market. What that means is don't try to sell to 1 million people, whereas 75% of them are not your persona. sell to the 25% who are your persona. Find out who they are, where they are, and how to connect with them. Another good point, as I've mentioned, use active listening. Ask your customers, do not make assumptions nor guess as to what they want, and remove your ego from the equation. What that simply means is what you want may not be what your customers want. You can't force a product or a service onto your customers. You have to bring to the market what the demand is, what they are asking for, in the way that they want it. And the only way you will know is by asking and researching and then giving it to them. Okay? Use psychology. And so if you're ever interested, learn the psychology of the consumer. There are tons of books on consumer psychology. It's a whole study, and the psychology of money and how people spend and what they buy and why. If you study those and really understand them, you would have a different perception on how to formulate your slogan and your messaging and your marketing to reach them here. Okay? Here and here for some, their hearts too. Mirror their behavior. You remember that guy who said, let me get it right, the one who had the commercial that he was his customer? I guarantee it. I think that was the suit guy. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I think it was the suit guy. Hold up the second one. I'm sorry, Sammy. Tell me what you were talking about there. Anybody know which one should you read first? Oh, okay, my bad. You're talking about the book. Sorry, you guys. Okay, building a brand story real quick, just in case y'all missed it. That's the first one. And then the second one is marketing made simple. Don't worry, I'll send it in a follow-up email with the PowerPoint, okay? All right. But anyway, it was the guy, I think, who used to sell suits, who used to say, I guarantee it. He was his number one customer. Mirror their behavior. Be the customer. Put yourself in their shoes. Always look from the perspective of your customer, whether it's the decision maker in the business or it is an individual consumer. Mirror their behavior. You are the customer, okay? And then always remember whom you're talking to. That is so critically important so that you can speak their language, always connect and engage with them, never rude, always thinking about what do they want. Be obsessed with your customer. And you might think, oh my gosh, that takes a lot of energy. Yes, it does. That's why we're in business. It takes a lot of work every single day, but I will tell you this, those companies that surpass $1 million mark, $2 million mark, $3 million mark are the ones who knows their customers and profile them and understands them and are obsessed with them. I promise it works. So remember who you're talking to. Make sure that your brand speaks their language, that you create a brand holistically that they can remember every single time they have a need for what you have to offer. They just automatically think of you, whether that's a jingle, whether that is a commercial, and you can create commercials for Instagram and TikTok so darn easy and practically free. It's ridiculous. You can do that. Tell a story. Always tell a story that is designed to connect to your primary audience when they're ready and able and willing to buy. And you'll see the money roll in. Yes, Dennis, thank you. It's Men's Warehouse. That's right. I guarantee it. Yeah. All right, my friends. We will be back on next Monday. Don't miss. It's going to be a really good one. I hope this was valuable valuable for you. Don't worry, I'm going to send the presentation to you. I want you to sit and think about your brand. What is it saying? How is it represented? Is the customer first? And if it isn't, fix it. Fix it now. And if you don't know how, I'll help you and connect you with some brand agents who can help. Okay? All right. If you have questions, send them to me or post them here before we end. You're welcome, Dennis. You're welcome, Mary. I hope it was helpful. But you all should have my email. You can email anytime. Come back next Monday. I have more for you. Trust me. You're welcome, Ruth. It's good to have you here. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Ty. All right, you guys, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining.